Welcome to Brush Up Your Game. I'm David.
I'm Mandy.
And today we're looking at Good Omens, an Ineffable game by Renegade Games Studios. This is a card game and has a series of,
challenges?
Yeah, challenges covering, they say the first season of Good Omens, and or the first book of Terry Pratchett's Good Omens, if you want to go that way. But it is very much built off of the TV show. There are 4 horseman battles, and we played this over 3 days.
We did.
And the first day we spent, 4, 5, 6 games trying to play against war.
Yes.
Yeah. Basically, the first battle is playing the card game War.
It was not quite the same rules.
No, not the same rules. But, was not a fan of that battle. I have the feeling it could be better with more people, but perhaps still frustrating.
Very frustrating.
So then we came back, and we played against Pollution. I should mention we never beat War.
No, we did not. That game was all about luck, and it was not on our side.
We came very close, though. We played against Pollution, and Pollution has this, you've got 3 cards in your hand, you got to play 2. 1 to Pollution, 1 to yourself or another player. And you're making poker hands. I liked that. It was a refreshing change from War. You actually had control.
It was better.
It was better. It's not the best of the horsemen.
It's not. Definitely one thing I would say is know your poker hands.
Oh yeah, that does help.
Yeah, it does very much help. I am not someone who knows a lot about poker hands.
And I think we beat Pollution the first time we played Pollution?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So then we said, okay, we'll keep going. And we played against Famine. And Famine has this really cool grid set up where you've got to complete 7 different poker hands only once. And when you do, you remove cards from the grid. And if you ever fill up the grid, you lose. I think that's the most gamery version of the Horseman.
Yes, I definitely was my favorite horseman.
Yeah, mine as well. It's a spoiler for what comes next with Death.
Did not like Death.
I feel like Death is winnable. I think Death would be better with more people.
I think it's harder with more people.
Death, you have to make a hand, a poker hand. In a 2-player game, you have to make a 3 of a kind or better. But each player has to make a different hand, and you can't communicate what hand you're going for. You kind of do because you can show certain cards, and so if somebody shows like the 5, the 6, and then the 7, you go, they're going for a straight. If somebody shows 2 11s, for instance, you kind of go, okay, they're going for pairs, 3 of a kind.
See, and then you don't know. I think that's what makes it harder, though, with more people, is you have to distinguish between 2 of a kind, 2 pair, 3 of a kind, and knowing who's going to have which one. That's more difficult with more people. And we couldn't accomplish it with 2 people.
We couldn't. There were a couple of times we won, but then we had the same hands.
Correct.
Yeah. It's also with 2 players, half the deck is out of play from the start.
Yeah, but at least you know what that half of the deck is.
So, yeah, if our recommendation at this point, if you're going to play Pollution, play Famine, and move on.
Correct.
Moving on, you then get to fight Heaven and vanquish Hell.
Yes.
And I thought neither of those are amazing card battles, but they were winnable, they were interesting, they they gave you something to do with the cards. There wasn't player communication, but there was. It wasn't direct, but it was inferred communication. And the fight against Heaven was taking cards from a central deck or discard pile. So there was a little bit of inference there. If I'm discarding a card or not taking a card from a discard pile, you know I don't need it, and bits of that. So there's a lot of that implied. I thought that one was fine.
Yes.
I didn't think it was bad. Vanquishing Hell, I thought that one was... So you separate all the cards out in a deck, and you are rolling 2 dice, and you pick up the card that corresponds to the total of 2 dice, except you can add or subtract a 3rd die. And I think that's enough variety. Mm-hmm. You have a given hand that you're given. You're told what to go for. So, like, I had 3 of a kind. You had a straight in that one?
Yes, I had a straight in that one.
So that was very, I think, easy, and I think that's a lot easier to go for in a 2-player game, and only would be harder with more players.
Probably.
Then there's, lastly, the Armageddon Prevention. And I thought that was ultimately the most challenging of the battles. Satan starts off with all the aces, the 1/14s, and a random 5th card. And you have to roll a singular die, and you can either change out your card or change out one of Satan's cards. And there's this whole thing that happens. If you roll a 6, you get to reveal a bunch of cards, trade them out. But then if you roll 3 6s, everybody loses.
Correct.
And, you know, it's dice. There's luck. But I thought that was actually a fitting end, and it made me go, oh, this is where they spent their time playtesting. Which is kind of what I'm left with. It's 2 of the Horseman battles, War and Death, War especially, makes me go, it's not a game.
No.
And maybe my challenge is at 2 players.
I don't see it working better with more players, though.
I don't either. And there's these character cards, which help things, but they don't solve everything.
No, they don't.
And by playing with these character cards, that's easy mode.
Yeah, but, I mean, there were certain ones where it was like, well, do we really need the character cards? And
no.
others it was like, okay, even with the character cards, we still can't beat this.
Yeah. And I guess... That's kind of where this game falls for me. It's a very lightweight card game. But yet it's too challenging for somebody who's a fan of lightweight card games. Right? Am I wrong there? It's a little too involved.
Correct. It's not your basic trick-taking type game.
Yeah, it's no rummy or euchre. It's not just playing war. It's not playing hearts or spades or old maid.
No, I mean, it's based off the same type of deck.
It is, so there's that initial learning curve that's gone. And if somebody knows poker, they know the hands. But
knowing poker, I feel, is very key to playing this game. If you don't know poker, it makes it significantly more difficult to understand what you're trying to do. And
yeah, I was going under the idea that, okay, so it falls on a level that's maybe more of a game than somebody who is just into card games. Your typical family that's just playing card games, who might love watching Good Omens and says, "Oh, the Good Omens game, we can get that. It's got cards. We'll play that." And then from a game player standpoint, I don't think there's enough meat on the bones. I like the character cards. I think character cards add a decent amount to the game, but I think there's a disconnect where they don't feel enough like the show. They don't add richness or depth like they could have to really impact a battle against a horseman, or the fighting against heaven, or vanquishing hell. There are such iconic moments from Good Omens, and this game did nothing to recreate that. You know, one of the biggest moments for me is Aziraphale and Crowley switching places to fool the other side. And there's nothing here that can recreate that whatsoever.
No.
And I almost feel like this game, and I'm not a game designer, but I feel like it would have been better with player powers. Something that lets me have a consistent impact. The fact that these character cards are one use and that's it.
True. I mean, they do have 2 different abilities on them, and you can choose which one to use, but I don't know. I didn't.
Yeah, but how many times... Because the abilities typically are a card-based ability or a die-based ability.
Correct.
And so,
every card has a card ability and a die ability.
But most of the time, only one of those is going to come into play in a specific battle.
Yes.
Which isn't bad, don't get me wrong. It's not bad. But it's just, there's...
I don't know. For me, this game left something to be desired. I wanted more. I wanted to feel more involved. I don't know. It wasn't what I was hoping for. And what I had,
Yeah, I came in with really high hopes. I heard, a Good Omens game.
Yes.
That has great potential. And then it was like, it's a card game. It's a cooperative card game. Okay, cool. It'll recreate the 4 Horsemen battles and 7 total iconic battles. Okay, cool. And then I guess I'm left with this kind of empty taste in my mouth.
I agree. I feel like I feel like the pictures are what tells you what the theme is, not the actual game.
You mentioned that, yeah.
Yes. And so it's like I could change this to a different TV show and have the exact same experience.
Right. You said while we were playing the last game, this could have been the Winnie the Pooh adventure game.
Yeah.
And nothing would have changed.
Except for who was represented for each character.
Yeah, it would have had to have different mission text. I will say, this rulebook is very well written to give me a theme going into a battle, right, against... Yeah, even like famine. Can you defeat famine? A horseman of the apocalypse, before there are too many mouths to feed. And the fact that famine has this limited control grid, where you're constantly adding to it, and you lose if it fills up and overflows. That was the word I wanted. That speaks to famine.
Correct.
Pollution, getting too many cards in the center to make too good of a hand.
Correct.
This works.
See, what I didn't like about War is that War was all based on if you tie. Now, I don't know anyone that ties in War to figure out if you win, there's a winner or a loser. Why am I trying to tie?
Yeah. That's what struck me as very weird. It was just so... It was so bizarre that the design would be set up that way.
It let you keep way too many cards. You couldn't get them away from... You couldn't get the cards you needed. There was no way to capture them. It just...
And every time you lost a life die, and if you lost 9 times collectively, you lost. So this game, when there's only 7 ways to play, and 2 of them I never wanted, well, 1 of them for sure I never want to touch again.
I don't really have an interest in playing with Death again either. Death I probably don't want to play again, but if you got me 3 or 4 people, I'd at least give it a go. Ugh, that to me sounds worse.
But, that's 2 7ths that I'm at least questionable on. The rest, I'd play and I'd have a decent time. But it leads me going, why was a game built that way and packaged out when it wasn't complete? It feels incomplete. So that's my judgment here. It is incomplete. I can't recommend something that's incomplete. And I liked what I liked in here. I don't think it's a total write-off. I'm not taking the game and hurtling it across the room or anything. But it's... Yeah, I guess it's proceed with caution.
Yes.
That's what I'd say.
Temper thy expectations.
I think that was an Agnes Nutter prophecy.
Oh.
Tamper thy expectations. All right. Anything else to add? No? Okay. Well, thank you for watching. Till next time, keep brushing up your game. No, you say take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for watching Brush Up Your Game. The preceding review was just us talking. We have no contact with publishers. We're not bribed, paid for, bought, nothing like that. However, if a publisher would ever like to send us a review copy, we'd be happy to receive it, and we'll disclose that information to you. Until then, thanks for watching, and keep brushing up your game. Take care, y'all.